Hey there, it's Amy Pearson from beingamytheblog.com coming at you with another video. And the first thing I wanted to do was show off my new t-shirt. It says human on the front. And then on the back, I can't show you the back, but it says Team Human. What else does it say? I'm looking at the website here because I don't remember what the back of my shirt says. And then on the back, oh, then it says Team Human, and then it's got a number on it. So it's like a really sporty looking design on the back. Saving the world one t-shirt at a time. Yeah, anyway, I just wanted to hop on. And today I wanted to talk about sort of the impossible situations that current events have put us in. And I guess what I want to do is share a story about someone in my life. There's someone in my life who has a new baby, and her child is what you might consider, what's the word that is being used? Vulnerable. She has some health issues, this baby. And so she has some health vulnerabilities. And so this person in my life has been really cautious, like not going to the store in a year cautious. And the other thing is that, understandably, right, as mothers, like we want to do everything that we can to keep our children safe. And, the difficult thing for me is that I want to hold that baby so bad. Selfishly, right? I want to hold that baby so bad. And I think it just has brought up a lot of grief in me over sort of these times and the ways that these times have changed our relationships. I was looking, I have a Google Home and in the kitchen, and it has a screen, and it shows photos that I've taken over the years that are stored in my Google Photos app. And the other day I was looking at a photo of some friends that I have in Portland, and I was just thinking to myself about these friends. It was a group of friends and family, and pretty much every single person in that photo has decided that I'm not safe to associate with for not political, I would say just like because of what's going on and some of my health choices. And it just makes me think about the difficult situations that we're in right now. We have to make choices that sort of back us into a corner. And what I mean by that is that, back to the example of the person in my life with the baby who has health vulnerabilities. And, I could choose, in any number of these awkward sort of relationship dynamics. I could choose to be angry. It's easier to be angry, I think, at some people than others. I tend to be more understanding when it has to do with someone's child and the choices that they're making to keep their child safe, because as a mother, that's what I'm doing. I think every single day that we have been in this situation, I've been thinking about ways that I can keep my children safe, whether that's physically or emotionally, mentally. How can I keep my family and my children safe? So as a mother, I totally understand that we have to make hard choices based on the information, the knowledge, and the experience that we have. But I think that all of us, regardless of our health choices, or our political affiliations, or our religion, or our, sexual orientation, whatever, we've really been forced, kind of backed into a corner in terms of some of the choices that we've had to make. There's been a lot of pressure for a variety of reasons that have really led us into choices that have caused strain in our relationships. And when we experience this on the receiving end, we can choose, we have a choice. We can choose to be angry. We can choose to be resentful. We can choose to assign blame. We can choose to be controlling. We can choose to be conditional with the love that we give. We can choose to cancel individuals. We can choose to shame them publicly. We can choose to force them out of some of the freedoms that they've had. We can announce publicly that they can't come into our place of business. There's lots of choices, regardless of what where you fall on the spectrum of choices that are being made right now. But we have another option, and that option is acceptance. And I talked about this a little bit in a couple of videos ago, that one of the beautiful things I think about what's happening right now in the world is that it's really forcing us, because this topic, so did the pandemic and, what things that are happening right now in the world, it's like we're being forced to have to deal with people in our families, our friendships, our society, our schools, our places of business, right? We are really being forced to interact with people who are making very different choices than we are. It's not like before where we could, blame the conservatives, or we can blame the, immigrants, or whatever weird sort of polarizing issue gets presented to us, and where we're, encouraged to scapegoat. It's like now it's like we're really being forced to face the people, people in our families, our friendships, our work, our communities that are making different choices than us. And it's sort of like, we can choose to be pissed off about that. We can choose to just delete that person from our lives. We can choose to be angry. We can choose to be resentful. We can choose to judge. We can shame. We can blame. And that's a choice. But the other thing that we can just do is we can fucking accept people for having different choices and making different choices and seeing things differently than us. And then we can live our lives. I know that in my own case, I've really wrestled with wanting to jump right into anger, wanting to jump right into judgment, resentment, blame, shame. I'm a human being. I mean, right? We're all susceptible to that. But I think what is happening is that a lot of us are just being backed into this corner, and we're like, instead of being in here, we are starting to come into here, into our heart center, and we're starting to notice that it doesn't feel good to be constantly angry. It doesn't feel good to be constantly pointing fingers. It doesn't feel good to be sitting in this position that, somehow we know more than others. It doesn't feel good to delete people from our families and our friendships. It just doesn't feel good. And so we're making different choices. We are learning how to be more accepting. We are learning how to tolerate, right, others for their choices, for their viewpoints, for their decisions. And so I just wanted to talk a little bit about that and share a little bit about how that is, coming up for me. And I think what I'm really learning is that when we can get into this space of compassion, right? Because we don't really ever know why people choose the way they choose. But what I have found is that when I understand it well enough, like it's easy to understand why a mother would choose something like make choices to ensure the safety of her child, right? But a lot of times we don't know, we don't know why a person makes the choices that they make. We don't know why a person is the way they are. And if we can apply compassion and know that we're all just on our own paths and we're all struggling in our own ways and we're all growing and evolving in our own ways, sometimes we can reach a point of compassion. And I know for me, when I can get there, it's a lot easier for me to be in acceptance. And, referring back to David Hawkins and the map of consciousness, acceptance vibrates really high. I mean, I think it's like 300, maybe 350. I can't remember. It's definitely falls above that threshold where, acceptance is in the realm of power. And what I mean by that is that any of the emotions that exist under 200, whether that's anger or fear or apathy or grief, all very normal human emotions that we all have. It's not that they're bad. It's just that if we can find a way to get to an emotion that lives above the 200 threshold, then we're existing in the frequency of power. Force means that there's always going to be resistance, right? When you're operating from fear, when you're operating from anger, when you're operating from depression, then you are always going to create counterforce. Whatever you do from those places is always going to create more resistance. So you're never going to be making positive impacts the way that you want to when you're operating from there. And that is why when I'm in that place of anger, right? Because I'm a human being and we humans get angry. So when I'm in that place of anger, what I know now is that I don't act from that place. I don't go and send my text. I don't tell someone that I need to get something off my chest. I don't post to Facebook. I don't make phone calls. I try not to talk to people. Sometimes that's hard when my kids are home and my husband is home. But I just try not to act from those places because I know that it's not going to do me any good. So I try to work on getting myself into a higher frequency before I take action, whether that's courage, which is at 200, whether that's neutrality, whether that's acceptance. And I try to act from that place. So I hope that some of this was helpful. And, I'm just hoping that as a collective, this sort of collective pressure that we're faced where we're being put in these just rock in a hard place situations, right? Where we have to make decisions that, really back us into a corner where we have to choose, are we going to choose to act from those lower frequency emotions like the anger and the fear and the sadness? Or are we going to act from that place of acceptance where we recognize that, yeah, there are a lot of people in this world with different, levels of sort of awareness and different experiences and different traumas and, different information, different cultures, different viewpoints. And, they may not see things the way I do. And why am I expecting that? How arrogant is it for me to expect someone to see things the way I do in order to exist in my orbit? So, and I'm not saying that in a judgy way because believe me, that was me 9 months ago. But, I've really set an intention to act from a place of acceptance. Doesn't mean I'm perfect at it, but I hope as a collective that the pressure and difficulty and the struggle of this situation is helping some of us to do that. So again, this is Being Amy from beingamytheblog.com, coming at you with another video of sort of where I am and what I'm processing and what I'm working through as I navigate this human experience. Sometimes I wish I could just go back into the womb. But we're all here. We all, I think, I really believe that we incarnated at this time for a reason. and let's turn these lemons into lemonade, and let's learn some stuff, and let's figure out how to be a more compassionate, loving human.